Hi, I'm Dave Sobel with SolarWinds. I'm here today with David Powell of Corsica Technologies.
Good to be here.
We're going to talk a little bit about the approach to MSP and the way you think about process, but we want to do it in a more interesting way. We know process is such an important part of the way we do business as MSPs, and we think all the time about being repeatable and making sure, but we always talk about it in these kind of boring terms. So we want to talk about it in a much more fun way. We're going to talk about it from the perspective of recipes. We think a lot about recipes, right? You go into the kitchen, like we're today, and you think about cooking. That's about a procedure, right? That's the basic idea.
Right. You know, when you talk about MSPs, a lot of MSPs, if you say, hey, why are you good at what you do? They don't really know. You know, a lot of it is just kind of haphazard. It's not process oriented. It's hero effort and stuff like that. And so when you really kind of think about how to build and scale and grow an MSP for kind of long-term success and to get nice in size and kind of break through those ceilings that most MSPs tend to hit around 3 to 6 million in top line or 6 to 10 in top line, you know, it's really about reproducible processes. And the thing that we all do the most is reproducible or not is follow a recipe. So today we're going to look at some recipes and maybe how they tie out to your business and some challenges maybe that you need to overcome related to that.
So we got 3 recipes.
Yes, we do.
So let's dive in on this first one.
Right. So the first is an appetizer. And the first is this idea of kind of pursuing the new, pursuing the novel. And today what we have is kale chips. They are free range kale chips with cactus jelly, which quite frankly I didn't even know was a thing until we got here.
Until we got here to Texas, and we were able to do this non-starter starter.
That's right. And how do you look at the appearance of this here, Dave?
Well, I mean, you know, the free range kale, clearly the best possible kale if we give it the ability to roam freely.
We didn't keep it in a cage. We let it out.
No, that would
let the kale out.
Be just
That's
problematic. Right. And the candied raspberry chipotle pecans was a touch that I thought really made the dish. Well, I want to say come together, but
if this has come together, that is what made it come together, if this counts as that. You know, what's funny about this is this kind of combines a lot of the kind of unique, cool components that you would hear out there. You know, everything's got to have kale and quinoa in it, and everything's got to be free range and all that kind of stuff. And while this is cool, it doesn't look particularly tasty, right? And I think that that's the challenge that a lot of MSPs run into, is that they pursue that cool thing, they pursue that innovative thing, and by chasing this or that, they don't really get good at anything. Quite frankly, this right here, you may make it and it could be tasty. I make it and it's not particularly tasty, but let's be honest, it's probably not tasty.
I'd be impressed if you made this tasty.
That's right. But I think that a lot of MSPs chase that new shiny toy. They chase that new technology. They go to a conference and the guy's up on stage saying, you got to build a software-defined networking practice, or you got to build a DevOps practice, or whatever it is. And they come back and they dabble in it. And by dabbling in it, you don't ever get really good at anything.
Right. And there's a lot of good individual ideas that were clearly tried, because I guess free range kale on its own, yeah, sure, or the pecans in, you know, with extras, that sounds interesting too. But when you do it all together and you just sort of try stuff, it's not really consistent.
That's right. It's not consistent at all. And the only way this is going to taste awesome is hero effort, right? Is that some guy in your company is a rock star at making this particular dish. Why he would want to, we don't know, but he may be really good at it. And I think a lot of MSPs get based on this idea where they're reliant on that hero effort, is that when things are going in the ditch, they have a guy. You know, where I worked before was a guy named Charlie, and Charlie was the guy that could go make something happen. And the problem with that is you can't scale past Charlie, is that Charlie is the guy, he makes stuff happen, and that's great, but relying on hero effort can only take you so far, because this is not reproducible. There's one guy that can maybe make this tasty.
Exactly. And even the one guy isn't necessarily going to do it the same way every time. The dish isn't consistent.
That's right.
And you can't replicate it.
That's exactly right. So translating that back again to MSPs is, you know, a lot of these guys are struggling with the hero effort. They're struggling with reproducible results. They're chasing the cool new thing instead of focusing really on what makes a lot of sense to them.
Exactly. So we're saying you want to make sure you start giving some thought to the procedure, to the way you use. And,
That's right.
Even the basics of writing down procedures and starting to lay this out, that makes a big difference for MSP.
That's right. How do you turn Charlie into a recipe? How do you scale Charlie?
Right.
And ultimately, if you can figure that out, that's how you can take your business to the next level.
So I think we don't really...
No. Do you want to taste that? No. That's it.
Not really.
Okay.
Well, now that we've talked about the starter, let's talk about something a little bit more reliable.
Yeah, main dish.
Main dish. We've all had this one. It's consistent and it's delivered with a recipe.
Right. Yet no one has ever taken a picture of it and Instagrammed it.
It's
right?
so true.
Which is conference chicken.
Conference chicken.
Every conference you go to, they're going to serve you the baked chicken, the wild rice, and the mixed vegetables. It is totally reliable. And it came out about as bland and uninspiring as you would expect, right? And the interesting thing about this is that if you go talk to MSPs and say, hey, how do you differentiate? How do people think about your business? What is an MSP going to say? They're going to say, oh, we do great customer service.
Of course,
right? What is every other MSP going to say? They do great customer service.
My people are the heart of my service.
The heart of my service. And we reliably close tickets and we meet our SLAs and all that stuff. And while that's great, that's not differentiated. It kind of meets the minimum expectations. When you're at a conference for lunch, they're going to serve you some of this minimum expectations. I need calories. I need something to sustain me through the afternoon. And it needs to be pretty non-offensive either way to whatever broad taste palate the attendees have.
And we know this scales.
That's right.
Every conference ever sends it and it's all the same.
That's right. You can bake 500 of them easy and that kind of stuff. And so the challenge though for the MSP world is that, doing just the minimum is not enough, right? We don't want to be plumbers. I always joke that plumbers, to be a great plumber, you just have to not suck. If you just show up on time and, don't cuss and don't track mud in the house, you're the greatest plumber ever. And so we don't want our MSPs to be that way, to where we're just doing the bare minimum. We're satisfying the customers, we're closing their tickets, we're meeting their SLAs. It becomes very bland and very predictable, and there's just no differentiation around that.
Right.
And I really feel that MSPs have to innovate on the customer's behalf, right? But we already talked about, not chase a shiny object, right? Not just chase it for technology's sake, but to innovate for the customer's benefit. And so how do you go and talk to the customer and say, what would you like to eat? And then prepare something great for them that's innovative, as opposed to just serving up conference chicken all the time.
Right, well, exactly. This is the reliable bit. We've got process and procedure in place. We know we can do this, but customers, this is the basics of expectation. Now we want to think a little bit more about actually differentiating and doing things that actually delight customers, that make them come back, make them long-term customers.
That's right. And when you go talk to MSPs and they'll tell you that we're struggling to scale, we're struggling to grow, it's not because they suck, right? It's that they can't figure out how to get over that next hurdle. And I think what we're talking about next is that way to get over the next hurdle, the dessert, right? The thing that inspires and not is kind of bland conference.
I don't think we're going to quite look at it the same way, but I think it's fine.
And we're not going to taste that one either, are we?
No, we can do better.
Okay,
so let's do a little bit better.
Okay, great. So we talked about the kind of the crazy and non-delectable. We've talked about the bland.
Right.
And now it's time to talk about the thing that is awesome, is seemingly kind of regular, but still quite amazing, chocolate chip cookies.
And not just any chocolate chip cookies. These are a family recipe.
This is the family recipe for the Powell family chocolate chip cookies. And, you know, it's funny, my wife is a great baker. And if we go to a dinner party, they always say, hey, bring dessert. And they always want to see what she brings. But we'll get there and people are like, hey, did you bring the chocolate chip cookies? And, you know, it's become that thing that we're kind of known for as a family that are awesome. My daughter bakes them. I've baked them. And they're fabulous every time.
And the trick to it is you've developed the recipe, the innovation, right? Over time, practiced and experimented and found exactly the right things at the right time, in the right order, at the right procedure.
That's right.
You can make them every time.
And we know they're awesome every time, irrespective of who makes them. And I think that's what's kind of cool is that there's some uniqueness to the recipe that's different than other chocolate chip cookies. That speaks to that innovation point. But if you follow the recipe, the innovation gets baked in and you're going to end up with this great result every time. And that to me is where MSPs need to get, right? Is they need to innovate on behalf of their customers, not innovate just for innovation's sake, right? Innovate on behalf of their customers, then take that innovation and bake it into a recipe so they're not relying on hero effort, like we talked about earlier. So whoever is making this has an awesome outcome that's aligned to what the customers want. So when we go to a dinner party, they want the chocolate chip cookies, so give the people what they want.
And it doesn't matter who makes it. So
that's right.
Thus, we can have cookies as a service.
Cookies as a service,
because every time from anybody you want to do it, but as long as the recipe's followed.
That's right. And 1 dozen or 1,000 dozen of these cookies is going to taste exactly the same, as long as you stick, you know, to the recipe. And that's the beautiful thing about when an MSP really gets fine-tuned, right, is that whether it's whoever in their organization doing an onboarding, whoever in their organization troubleshooting, whoever on their organization doing whatever it may be, the results are the same, but they're innovative and they're reproducible, and that allows them to scale. So all these companies that hit those ceilings that we've talked about before, now this is really the way to scale beyond, is take your innovation, turn it into a recipe that you can scale and grow and get as big as you want to be.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the innovation, of course, is that's like the kitchen lab, right? People are experimenting, they're trying different things out. They figure out the right order, the right procedures. That's the innovation. Then you systemize it to deliver it as a service, and that's the reliability.
Correct. We could turn this into a box mix just as easily, right? And sell it. And so that's that thing, is that the innovation occurred somewhere else. The innovation was in tune with what the customer wants, and now we have this awesome stuff.
Awesome cookies.
Are you ready to try some of these cookies?
Well, I've been looking at them the whole time, so yeah.
I think it's time.
All right, let's go for it. As expected. They're pretty amazing. In fact, they're so good, you're going to share the recipe with everybody.
We are going to share the recipe with everybody. Follow it.
Follow it to the letter. You'll get exactly the experience we had here today.
That's right. Can't screw it up.
So we've talked about a couple of things today. So first, we've talked about the idea of what happens when you don't have a process. That was our first recipe. Then we talked about just having one isn't quite enough. It doesn't deliver the extra deliciousness.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the way you take systemized innovation and you can then execute it over and over, deliver cookies as a service.
That's right. And I think, this has been kind of fun to talk about, but really there's a lot of truth in all this for MSPs, right? Hero effort won't get you where you're trying to go. Just doing the minimum and meeting the SLAs isn't going to get you where you want to go, but innovating, but being able to do it in a reproducible way is the way to scale and grow your business.
So if you want to dive further into this, we've got a bunch of different resources available for you. First, go to the MSP Institute right on our website. You can click on resources, dive right in. We've got a bunch of different material around delivering processes, automating your business, all the kinds of things you need there. We've also got resources in our MSP Advice project, as well as in the Customer Success Center to dive in further. We do webinars on a regular basis where you can get topics just like this. And of course, our Empower series, those face-to-face events where you can learn from your peers and learn from industry experts. David, we want to thank you for coming out and talking today. It's been a lot of fun.
Happy to. And we're sharing the recipe for the cookies too.
So your first piece of homework, let's make some cookies.
Bake them.